everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Baking the Quarantine Edition. So the recipe that I chose to share with you guys today is peanut butter chocolate Rice Krispie squares. This recipe is perfect for this time of our lives because there's very few ingredients. There are some ingredients that you can switch out for different ingredients, and they're no bake, so they're super easy to make, and you will see they are seriously addictive. Before we get started with the recipe, if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell so that you know when the next episode is coming out. So the first thing you're gonna need is an 8x8 square baking pan, and you're gonna need something to line your pan with. We're going to grease the pan, so I'm gonna use coconut oil to grease it, but you can use any oil or butter. And then we're gonna just need some kind of paper to line it with. I'm using wax paper because, like I've said before, I have lots of wax paper and not a lot of parchment paper. So because we're not baking, it doesn't matter if it's wax paper, it's not gonna go in the oven. You're gonna need some scissors as well, and I'm gonna show you a little trick for how to get your parchment paper or your wax paper to fit perfectly inside of your pan. The next thing you're gonna need is some peanut butter and some maple syrup, but there's also alternatives to the maple syrup, so I'll share those in the description box below. We're gonna be using some salt, some Rice Krispie cereal, and then you're gonna need some sort of dark chocolate. I'm using chocolate chips, as well as some coconut oil. And lastly, you're gonna need some sort of big bowl and either a big spoon or a spatula. All right, so the first thing that we're going to prepare is our baking pan. Like I said, it's an 8x8. So the first thing that we're gonna do is just grease our pan, and I'm using coconut oil. And I make sure to have my coconut oil at room temperature, so it's just really soft and easy to spread. You can do this very roughly because this is just so that the paper will stick, so you don't need a ton of coconut oil. And my favorite part about using coconut oil is that once you're done, I always just rub the coconut oil into my hands because it's really good for your skin, and then you don't even have to wash your hands after you use it. Okay, so now when you want your paper to fit nicely into your pan, what you can do is just lay it flat directly over your square. And then I like to use scissors to cut diagonally into each corner. And I just cut like about a couple inches inward, and do this for all of the corners. Then what you can do is literally push your paper in, and it will just fall into place, and the little corners will just overlap each other, and then you have a perfectly sealed, perfect fit in your pan. Okay, so we can set this aside, and we're going to get started on our recipe. The first step of the recipe, we have to just combine peanut butter and our maple syrup as well as our salt. So I'm gonna throw that in there now. And we're just going to heat this over about medium heat just until it's kind of melted together. You do not have to let it come to a boil or anything like that. It's literally just to get it nice and smooth and melted together. And also today I'm actually using a crunchy peanut butter. I don't have any open jars of my smooth ones, so I'm using a crunchy one, and I think it'll just add more texture to the recipe. And you could actually use any kind of nut butter that you have on hand, but I love the combination of peanut butter and chocolate. It's so good. Okay, now I've got my Rice Krispie cereal. I'm just gonna throw it into my big bowl. And we are just going to dump all of this mixture in here and then mix it all together. And then we're just gonna press it into our pan. So you just wanna pack it down completely and try to do this really firmly so that it's really nice and packed and there's no like little air pockets. And you want to make it as even as you can so that that chocolate sits nicely on top and that when you cut it, it looks really even. Okay, that looks perfect. So at this point, we're just gonna pop this into our freezer while we melt our chocolate and make that layer, and then we can pour it on top of this. For the chocolate layer on top, I'm actually just going to melt this straight in the microwave. Oh my God. Oh no, how long was that there? I'm gonna go melt the chocolate and the coconut oil in the microwave. I'm just gonna do it for about 50 seconds, and then after each time, just give it a stir until it's combined. You can also do this over a double boiler, but I find using the microwave to be just really, really easy. All right, the last step that we have is to get this chocolate mixture spread over the Rice Krispie squares, and then we're going to pop it again in the freezer. It has to cool for, I'd say, at least about an hour before we can cut them. I have been very impatient in the past and tried cutting them after like 20 minutes. And what happens is even though the chocolate part seems to be set, the Rice Krispies are kind of not. And so you'll cut through nicely and then all the Rice Krispies just like spill out. Considering it is quarantine time and you're probably not serving these to anyone, or it's not really like a fancy occasion, you could literally just eat this with a spoon after 20 minutes. So I'm gonna leave that up to you guys. And our squares are ready to be cut up and eaten. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna run our knife along the edges just to loosen it up. You could alternatively just kind of let this sit at room temperature for about 5 minutes and just let that kind of chill, wear off a little bit. But it looks like they wanna pop out. So I'm gonna go ahead and transfer this onto my cutting board. And then you can just simply like peel the sides down and we're ready to cut. Just a tip, so as I was cutting them, I noticed that the chocolate on top was cracking a little bit, so it just means that they were a little too cold to cut right away. So I just cut one row for now, and I'm just gonna let the rest kind of warm up a little bit, and then it'll make cutting that much easier. But in the meantime, we can taste them. This is what they look like. So good. They have that perfect like balance between salty and sweet and then the chocolate. They're honestly like one of the best things I've ever had in my life. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video and the recipe, be sure to give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you know when our next episode of Baking Quarantine Edition is coming out. I hope that everyone is doing well and staying safe and staying busy at home and staying at home as much as possible. I really hope that if you are able to make these, you do, because you will not regret it. Actually, you might though, because you'll probably eat them all in one night. I'm not kidding. But let me know in the comments below if you do end up making them and how you enjoyed them. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.